Our brains love shortcuts. We try to assess value and credibility as quickly as possible, which makes us very easy to fool. Think of all the commercials you've watched where it says that how many dentists like this toothpaste or all the best professionals buy this type of truck. We use these different clues and puzzle pieces to create a picture and decide very quickly whether something is for us or not. Because of these shortcuts, it's actually very easy to bypass our critical thinking on things and for people to simply present something to us and for us to immediately see it as credible or valuable without them actually needing to prove that.
I am rich.
I release all negative energy over money. Money comes to me easily and effortlessly. I use my
As business people, it's incredibly important that we understand that this exists, but also find strategies in place to not be so swayed by it and to retain our level of critical thinking and assessing and making sure that things are actually credible. But that's a little bit difficult. After all, these are built-in systems. They're not bad ones. It's part of our humanity. But in order to be successful, we need to have systems in place to combat this bias and make us a little more resilient to being fooled. Welcome to Business is Scary, where we dissect various business concepts like money, marketing, and business management with a human-centric approach. If such topics are of interest to you, make sure you subscribe to stay notified of all of our weekly videos. But now let's talk about podium bias. Podium bias is a psychological phenomenon where we immediately see something as credible, worth hearing, probably trustworthy. Not because of what its actual contents are, but the way that it is being presented to us. Like the name suggests, somebody on a podium, someone on a stage who is delivering a speech, without even hearing the speech, we immediately feel like this is at least something worth hearing, worth assessing. They could be speaking absolute rubbish. They could be somebody who has no credibility whatsoever, just some random person talking about something, but we immediately feel like they at least deserve to be there. This can take the form of other things like science coats, suits, follower count, beauty, wealth, accents. There's actually a study, I believe, somewhere that was saying that people trust British accents and believe them to be more intelligent, not because of what they're saying, but simply for having the accent. And we have to be careful of two things when it comes to credibility shortcuts. We have to be careful of people using credibility inside of one space in order to talk about a different space that they have no credibility in. We also have to be aware of when credibility is used to stop us from going deeper, researching, and actually making sure that a credible person is using credible sources. Overall, we have two systems. System one is our fast system. This is the one that when you're crossing a street and you see a car inside the distance, you quickly do a calculation of, okay, well, I think I could probably cross before it hits me and I would safely get across and not die. System two is responsible for the bigger decisions in our life, like buying a new PC or what university you're going to go to, what course are you going to study? How are you going to lay out your semester? Things like that. These are terms coined by behavioral psychologist Daniel Kahneman in his book, Thinking Fast and Slow. If you're going out to buy some sort of sports shoe, whether that's lifting shoes, running shoes, basketball shoes, football shoes, you're probably doing a lot of research, at least some people do a lot of research to figure out which shoe is the best one for them. But other people, for the exact same product, they go into the store and it's which one is more expensive or which one is the least expensive. And then they'll get that one and they anchor themselves to that one. And it's not necessarily that these two decisions are either good or bad or one system is better than the other. It's recognizing when it's used. Interesting. It's looking like you're not subscribed. And I'm talking about you. Most of you are not subscribed, actually. Isn't that crazy? If you like the video, if you like the channel, and you like some of the videos, go ahead and subscribe. It supports the channel, and it helps us know what you guys like, don't like, and we're able to make the content better. Anyways, that's enough of me. Back to the video. It's a fantastic sales tactic. Look at your YouTube ads and the amount of people who bombard you with evidence. They'll say, okay, well, here's the value. Here's what I've gotten out of it. Here's what other people have gotten out of it. Here's the price, so it's not too expensive. And they put all these things on you so that it feels like you're making a very educated decision, but you're taking a lot of what they're saying for face value.
Just purchase the most expensive lifestyle items in the world, which I massively enjoy, plus are a big show-off factor. I did it at the right age. I did it at a very young age, and it's always more impressive. If I meet a 50-year-old man and he shakes my hand, he's got a Rolex on his wrist, it's a completely different feeling than when a 20-year-old reaches out his hand to shake my hand and there's a Rolex on his wrist.
And you're taking that they made some money, so they're probably credible in how to make money. And now whatever they say after that is probably credible as well. So if they say, hey, I made $50,000 doing this thing, you say, wow, that's a lot of money. This is a person who knows how to make money. Now you should not invest in your RSP and take that money and go gamble it, right?
Imagine this. Give me your money. I'll take care of it for the next 30 years. And I'm going to give you a little tax benefit for leaving it with me. Absolutely complete.
What should you do with your money?
First thing people should invest in is themselves. Go to workshops, go to seminars, like invest in your craft. And that means investing in your skills, coach, podcasts, whatever needs to get you known, right?
All of a sudden, that if we're thinking very critically, we know that that's really bad advice. But because everything else sounded credible, when they throw in that last piece that doesn't sound credible, it's like, well, why would I research this? This is a guy who's made this much money and has done that business and this, right? For example, there are various fields inside of science. Imagine if a physicist who's won a Nobel Prize, he's very educated inside of his field, then for some reason on a podcast is talking about biology and he has a hot take on that. Yes, Nobel Prize winner, probably smarter than like a majority of us, right? Does that mean that they have the credibility to be speaking inside of a different field that isn't theirs? That illustrates a very tough situation that it puts viewers and listeners and consumers in, where we have to recognize that when you get famous in one area does not mean that you can speak to another. This happens so much with celebrities, where somebody gets famous for acting and all of a sudden they're making music, or vice versa. The important thing here is to be able to hit the brakes and say, hey, what is this person known for? Great. And what are they speaking about? And this segues us into the next topic, whereas let's research. Whether we find them credible or not, let's fact check what they're saying. This one is especially tough, especially when we're using shortcuts and we look to somebody who is saying something factual. We read their bio and it shows a long list of their research and the amount of time that they spent on something. And sometimes we kind of take that and we just say, well, they've done their research, so this is probably fine. When you hear people that you trust talking about something, referencing something, and it's of something, of value, you could say a hot take. I'm not the biggest fan of that term, but if it's something that, you don't know a whole lot about, even as they're talking about it, go and find the resources that they got that from. See if there's other sources that are saying the same thing and where those sources got their information from, right? As business people, we need to be factual, we need to be data driven, and we need to think critically. This means that it's not enough to just bring facts to the table. We also need to know where it came from. Because when we understand where it came from, then we can be even more sure about our decisions. And we know that we did the due diligence. So that if somebody says something, and sure, it's factual, but it's like, okay, well, where did we get these numbers from? And it's like, I just found them, right? Then even the best performance, dashboard, we're putting up a little exclamation marks of like, okay, well, how much do we trust this data? When we think in this way and we don't let shortcuts and cheap tricks like how nice a suit is, or a lab coat, or somebody standing on a TEDx stage, but we look at the content and we say, okay, how true is this? Where are we getting our information? And how is that information even collected? It means that we won't take bad advice from even the most credible people, and we're actually open to advice from the least credible people. These are people that, just came into the industry, don't have years and years of experience that they're banking off of, right? But they might have some good ideas. So when we let go of these shortcuts and we're critical of everyone, then the only thing that rises to the top is quality information and data. And we definitely need that because business is already scary as it is.